like a large caramel macchiato with an extra shot and whipped cream, please.
Coming up.
Wait, hold on. How much is that?
$4.85.
Okay, better drop the extra shot. What does that make it?
$4.20.
Better make it a small. What does that make it?
$3.30.
Better drop the whipped cream. What does that make it?
Less calories.
Oh my God, and he flew all the way to New York to tell me that. That's so romantic.
It's beautiful, really.
You're not even allowed to leave the state.
What's that now?
Top news stories of the week. Time to find out once again with Megan Olson and News of the Week on the Al Travis Show.
Love having her on the program. Megan, how are you doing? A Merry Christmas to you and yours.
Yeah, good. Happy to be back. We're wrapping up a full year, 2025. Instead of top Minnesota news stories of the week, we're going to be doing the top ones of the year.
Love this. I've been, playing along in this little pond for a lot of years, and 2025 will be absolutely the craziest of the crazies ever. Am I lying here? I mean, this is stuff you couldn't write.
I don't think so. In my 5 or 6 years of being on this show, I know there are some weeks where things are a little light. There's not a lot happening in the legislature. But this year, 2025, every week there was something new for us to discuss. It kept us on our toes. There were a lot of main themes throughout the year. And yeah, it certainly was a crazy one. And I welcome 2026 to be a little bit calmer, but I don't think that that's going to be the case.
All right, your top news stories of the year. Let me, if I can I run through a few things? And if I bean into one, raise your hand or yell at me to stop.
Yes.
So you start the year with the legislature, but the legislature doesn't get in session, right?
Exactly.
They hold off for 6 weeks, each calling each other it's their fault, yada, yada. There's one guy who ran who didn't live in his district. Another gal passed away. Then the Supreme Court had to get involved to tell us what a quorum was. I'm not hitting anything yet.
Nope, that's it. It's all bundled together. We're just calling it legislative chaos.
Oh, okay, then all right. Because that was the craziest thing ever. And then they get back and they have this, what do they call it when they decide to share powers in the House? Dual citizenship or something.
I don't know. Yeah, their power sharing agreement.
Power sharing, yeah. So they come up with a power sharing agreement which lets Representative Demuth be the Speaker of the House, which in all reality, compared to the years before, it did slow down the steamrollering of what was happening in that.
Exactly. And I think you're glossing over something, too, that we discussed at length on this show, that the DFL had a kind of private, to themselves, swearing-in ceremony. Do you remember that? I know.
I do now, yes.
Seems so far long ago. I mean, it's been almost a year. But yes, they secretly had their own swearing-in ceremony at a different location. It wasn't in the legislative chambers like it is every year. And it was a big topic of conversation because Republicans wanted to challenge that legitimacy. Are these people actually sworn in?
In which case the quorum is smaller because there's not as much. We went through some. Wow. Yeah, that was a heck of a start to the season. Mm-hmm. And then they get done with whatever they get done with what they get done. And it wasn't weeks later, the whole Hortman and Hoffman shooting, right?
Mm-hmm. That's number 2 for sure. Or at least if we're going in chronological. That does come next in June. Mm-hmm.
That probably, we talk fraud might be the most we talk about, but the whole Hoffman-Hortman shooting would, I would think, be the number one thing. There was no one in the state not talking about it.
Yeah.
While they were looking for the guy, and then, months after, So evidently somebody put out on some X or Twitter about some conspiracy theory and all this on why they got shot, why the Hortmans got shot, because you voted for the whatever. And everyone, both sides coming, just stop that. This is a lunatic who did bad things. Let's not go any further down this rabbit hole, but people will go down rabbit holes. That to me, maybe not the most consequential, but one of the biggest things that I can imagine happening in a state.
Oh, absolutely. And I think also a moment for pause and unification, which is not something we see too often here in Minnesota because we're constantly in this kind of push-pull of Republican DFL control and who has what. And I think this summer gave a lot of lawmakers time to reflect and pause and think about all of this. It was obviously a very intense and emotional summer. We still don't have, I did some research before the show because I feel like after this shooting, we didn't hear much about this Vance Bolter. We had this wild chase for 48 hours. We found him, locked him up, and then silence. But there just hasn't been a trial date set yet. It sounds like there is just boatloads of evidence. There's
Oh yeah.
videos, like hours upon hours of videos. I guess it's taking like 200 hours to download these videos and
Oh
photos
wow.
and files for review by both the prosecution and the defense. So still nothing there, but also what's something that's interesting about all of this is that the International Association of Chiefs of Police, they're conducting a full 43-hour review of the 43-hour period of when
Yeah.
this all started to when they captured Vance Bolter and kind of identifying where gaps were in coverage and seeing how they can improve. So that report is going to
Well,
be made public when it's all said and done. It's almost a $500,000 report. So
oh yeah.
hopefully learning some lessons after all of this.
Money well spent, obviously. The Hoffman's just a personal friend of mine, and we've been chatting with him. He's doing much better for folks who are worried about him. Doing much better. He is going to run again. That was like news the other day. He's going to run again. We'll get him back in the program, but what's interesting is because of the trial, he's hanging off. He doesn't want to do or say anything that jeopardizes that they got this guy, to rights. I don't know what we'd ever say here on the program, but he's holding off, but he is doing well, and we're very happy to report that. But that is one of the reasons, I believe, that so many people are retiring this year. We have a massive number of retirees, not running again, retiring is the wrong word, but on the same line, didn't we have an all-time number of people, special elections? I mean, in this year, and that probably isn't even number one.
Yeah, that's kind of tucked in there too, is we were so close to beating that record. We actually tied, I think, some number from 1980 something, and that's because we had 2 primary elections this December, but those general elections are carrying over into 2026. But yes, we had, I believe it was 6 special elections.
6, yeah, I think that, yeah.
7 out of the 12 months this year in 2025, there has been either a special primary or a special election, which is crazy. I mean,
and when you
right.
look at it, when we're one vote one way or another in the House and the Senate, it makes all the difference in the world, and it's just back to back to back. And that's just talking the legislative stuff. Wow. What a
Well, and then at the same time, too, you have senators that are being prosecuted for breaking into their stepmother's homes.
The Catwoman thing, we never even talked.
To fill their seats. Yeah, that's another one I kind of forgot about until we were chatting about it.
Oh, that is, it's not funny for them, but that was just, look at all the stuff that happens. You forget the cat burglar woman, the Senator Mitchell. You forget about that because there's so much other stuff going on when you're trying to figure out, what's the big stuff of the year. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. So that gets us June, July, somewhere in there when she got found guilty. So I guess I'm chronologically, all this time that fraud's going on, I got to presume some of that's got to be.
I think we were chatting about it here and there.
Okay.
It was sprinkled in. I mean, Feeding Our Future, those defendants were, I believe, tried and prosecuted in March, the big ringleaders, that is. So I think we were talking about it, but it didn't really ramp up until this last, I don't know, quarter of the year.
Well, where did that come? Trump gets the idea that there could be $1 billion. That's U.S. Attorney Thompson comes out and says he thinks this could be $1 billion. That gets played. Trump figures it out, and he puts a spotlight on Minnesota. From that moment on, this thing doesn't even have legs. It's got wings. It's flying like a 747. Now that number, according to Thompson, could be $9 billion. You had to have been one of the 174 million people that saw the Nick Shave, what's his name? Starry, Shavey, whatever.
Nick Shirley.
Nick Shirley video on X. 174 million people. That's, if it was just Americans,
well,
that's half the country.
Take that with a grain of salt, because there is a lot of pushback right now from the DHS commissioner, Brown, talking about how they visited these facilities. They were inquiring with this YouTuber, Nick Shirley, about when did you go?
Yep.
We have not found, we have found that they're in compliance. We're going to go ahead and look at them again, which I think is huge for this DHS commissioner to say, okay, you know what? We'll go ahead and look. We looked 6 months ago, but we'll check again now, instead of just glossing it over and saying nothing's there. Taking the steps to actually look into it.
She made some comment that the Leering Center, spelled learning wrong.
Yeah.
The Leering Center was actually closed the week before they closed down. So that's why there was nobody there. But some reporter, and I don't have his name written down, went out and he took a look 2 days later, a news reporter here, I think it's 5. And he's standing, goes, well, these are the video. They're trucking kids into that one. 2 days after the video, after the DHS person the same day said that this was a closed down building, there were kids going in. He's got video. He went up and said, hey, are you closed? No, these are the kids. We've got them. They're still open. So either DHS gal believes some malarkey, Nick is malarkey, but even if he's malarkey of what he's done, and I talked about this earlier today. So you got to decide what side you believe in. You look at the Star Trib today, they don't mention 174 million people reading that story. They mentioned 1 million people on YouTube that saw it. I mean, it's probably basically true. I bet you that's true, but that isn't the story. It's 174 million watched that or a portion of that. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Let's say, and the other thing they said was he's in front of a building that was only open from 2 to 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you people do in the cities, but are there needs for 100 children from 2 to 10 o'clock at night for daycare? They call it daycare for a reason.
Weird shift time. But yeah, that was some of the commissioner's questions. And I don't know. I caution against it because I think we have really good reporters here in Minnesota. We've got, Alpha News. I think some of the other mainstream media outlets have been doing well too. KSTP. They have their own kind of investigative arm now. And so now you have this kind of out-of-towner coming in. And
see, but that's what we needed. And my point is, if these guys have found the same stuff, these other reporters you're talking about, Alpha News, they all go out there and find the same thing. You can't find any kids in these places. They look hunkered down. But this kid, this Nicky, whatever, Nick Shirley, put the spotlight on so you can't not look at it. Mm-hmm. As much as the local press has covered stuff, you weren't looking at it. I find out that this Quality Learning Center had 95 violations in 4 years. And that's when they had 16 kids. Now they have 100. And we sent them $1.9 million. Whether they're open, closed now or not, $1.9 million for 100 kids? Are we seriously paying $19,000 a kid in daycare?
I mean, childcare is expensive, but yeah, the state chipping in that much is definitely concerning. And we've talked about daycare fraud on this program for the last 5 years because the childcare centers and all that fraud, that's kind of where all of this fraud conversation originated way back when. Yeah. It all started with childcare centers. So right.
We've got to go to break. We'll be back. We got more. We're talking top news stories of the year for 2025 with Megan's News in Review.
You need a friend at the Capitol who knows how to get things done.
And you're in luck because that's exactly who we are, your friends at the Capitol, and we deliver results.
At Momentum Advocacy, we bring decades of experience in lobbying, public affairs, and crisis communications.
From local nonprofits to national corporations, we help you move policy, manage your media, and make your voice heard.
We're not just seasoned pros, we're essential partners.
Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol. Learn more at momentum-advocacy.com.
I stand with veterans, and today I'm asking you to support Bravo Zulu House, America's first all-military sober home, helping veterans with PTSD right here in Minnesota. This holiday season, help save the life of a veteran from the cycle of hell created by PTSD and addiction. Become a member of Team Shield, a community of monthly donors protecting those veterans who have protected us. Give now at bravozuluhouse.org.
Are you kidding me?
You know that comment you said to the radio? The thing that we got wrong?
Clearly, Brussels sprouts are the worst vegetable.
Call us and let the world know your thoughts. 855-257-7469. That's 855-ALS Show.
And we're doing it. It's the relook at 2025 with Megan and Megan's News and Review. I got to think the other is news is things that just kept piling on. The races for 2026, right? The races that are coming up. Who's in, who's out? Because as each person gets in, we start chatting again about who's in and that sort of thing. What's the most shocking for you as far as the races for 2026?
I don't know about most shocking. I guess the way it all played out of 2025 just being Walz kind of stringing everyone along. And then we finally get to an announcement here close to the end of the year. That I will say was really shocking. And now we're seeing Republican leaders call for him to resign. We're seeing all of this fraud come out and he's getting pinned for
pummeled.
it, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the leader of it. And I mean, need I remind you, and I glossed over this before when we were talking about fraud, that the legislative audit from earlier this year, they came out with a legislative audit that said the Walz administration had the authority to act on a lot of this fraud stuff, and they didn't rein it in. So there's that from earlier this year, and now
So
he's in, but should he be? That's the
He
big
holds off forever, and while doing that, his lieutenant governor, who wanted to be governor, set up a governor fund, but then when he came back because he didn't win the vice presidency, went to say, okay, I'll take the Senate seat. She goes for the Senate seat, but so does Angie Craig. Now it's a very busy thing, but when you talk about should the governor be running, what does the lieutenant governor do? I find this amazing that the lieutenant governor is getting no flack about any of this stuff going on with the fraud. It just, well, it's not me. It's either the governor or it's the commissioners, but then that little spot in the middle, that where the cheese at, that ham sandwich, not me. Well, then why do you have any, if you're not involved with any of what's going on, then how are you qualified to go to be my senator because you're lieutenant governor? What does they do? And how does she get by with this? And I think when push comes to shove, if they stay in there, Angie Craig's going to use that comment. She's going to say the same thing.
Yeah, and I mean, we're also kind of hearing this chatter, though, that I don't know, maybe Angie Craig will pivot and go for a gubernatorial run. And if I'm Walz, I'm all in. I'm not going to hold back. But can he win? Can he get that third term? Or do Republicans actually have the upper leg now because they have all of this fraud stuff and a lot of really great candidates?
Well, that's the other thing on the governor's side, there are a ton of very good candidates. It seems striking to me the lack of candidates in the other seats, the House and the Senate. That seems a little strange to me. But there are good quality people running on the Republican side. But I'm telling you right now, and I talked about this with Congressman Gutnick, he's running because he thinks he can win. He's running because polls say that. He's running because things like the Star Tribune and some of these other news outlets aren't beating him on the head like they should be with what's going on. And I think he thinks he can weather it. I honestly do. And so he thinks he can get that third term, which is hard enough on its own. But if he holds fast to that, that could be a wrecking ball for their whole side because it's going to bring the ticket down.
It's so hard when you have all of this kind of third party momentum exposing all of the fraud. I mean, you have this Nick Shirley YouTuber, but then you have this letter spearheaded by Mayor Perfest up in Cross Lake of 98 mayors kind of calling out the state saying, hey, you're putting a lot of burdens on us. And what about all this fraud? You're putting burdens on us, but you're not addressing this fraud. This could maybe fill the gap and all that.
What about 400 DHS people on X saying, hey, we've tried to turn you in?
Yeah. How much does that hold weight for 2026? And I don't know. Republicans have a history of kind of eating their own. And with 12 candidates, I think there's a possibility that could happen again. But we'll see who the front runner becomes in 2026. I think fraud is a top story of 2025 that's going to carry into 2026. I don't think you and I are done talking about it. So
you're 100% correct. We will. But what's scary about this is I think people are getting glossy about it. Until this spotlight came out, we've been talking fraud for 5 years, whatever it's been. And now people, oh, really? That's going on? Really? Didn't know. They're not paying attention. I think yes, I agree. They're just a little tired of it all. I appreciate it, Megan. Always a pleasure to have you on. We'll get you in 2026, huh?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on to talk about the top Minnesota news stories of the year here in 2025. We'll be back in 2026 with our regular top Minnesota news stories of the week on the Al Travis Show with Megan's News and Review.